how can we remove data from an array? Let's say we want to remove the data at index 0 or remove the letter A. So what we can do is put I on index 0, then we look at the data at I plus 1. So at I plus 1, what do we have? We have B. We move B to the left, and we move I to the right, and repeat this process. So we look at I plus 1 again, we have C. We move C to the left. We can leave the letter I here or move it up. It doesn't matter because we have successfully removed the letter A from the array. For practice, let's do it again. Let's remove the data at index 0, so the beginning of this array. The first step, we put I onto index 0. We look at I plus 1. We have C. We move C to the left, and that's it. If we remove at the beginning of the array again, then we see that there's only one element inside the array, so we just need to take it out. And let's say that you have an empty array like this. What's going to happen if we try to remove again? There is no data, as you can see. So remove will just return null. Now, I want to show you how to remove at the end of the array. So the function that does it is called pop. And pop will remove the last letter inside the array. How can we remove in the middle of the array? So going back to this example, let's say we want to remove the element at the middle of the array, let's say index 1. We put I onto index 1. We look at I plus 1, we have this. So we move C to the left, we move I to the right, and repeat this process. We look at I plus 1, we move D to the left, and you can leave I here or you can move I to the right. It doesn't matter because now we have successfully removed index 1 from the array. Let's take a look at how to implement a list using an array in Java. So here is our interface, and the interface just lists out the methods that we will have, and then we will implement them in a moment. So some of these methods are size, is empty, get, set, add, remove, pop, and display. Next, we have the ArrayList class, and our ArrayList can contain numbers or strings. It doesn't matter the type of the data, so that's why we use the generic data type, T, which means it doesn't matter what data type it is. We also have some primitive variables such as default capacity, which I will set to 4. This is basically the array length, but here I will say default capacity instead. And here is our array, then size is equal to 0 because when you create a list, it's going to be initially empty. So the size or the number of elements will be equal to 0. We also need constructors. So when you call the constructor, it will assign some memory to the array. That's all it's going to do. So how much memory are we giving to the array? Well, we can use the default capacity, which is 4, but you can also give the user the option to change the capacity of the array. So you can pass in the argument capacity and then use this instead. So use this into here. So if instead of 4 you want 10, then you can pass 10 in here and create the array of length 10. And the next steps is to implement the methods add and removal. So these methods will go under the constructor here. So for pop, we're actually removing the last element inside the array. So first of all, we need to check the size. If there are no elements inside the array, or if the size is less than or equal to 0, we're not going to remove anything. So just return null. But if there are some elements, then we need to remove at size -1. So why size -1? Well, let's see. If this is our array, then pop will remove the letter D, right? And D is at index 3. The size is 4 because there are 4 letters. So 4 minus 1 will give you 3. So this is why we remove at size -1. And here is our remove method, and it takes in the index or the location of where we want to remove the data. So if index is negative, or if the index is greater than or equal to size, then don't remove anything, just return null, because these indexes are out of bounds. Now, let's say we have an empty array, and we want to remove at index 0. Well, obviously there's no data, so it should return null. So is the index smaller than 0? Well, no, it is not. So how about index is greater than or equal to size? Index is 0. and the size is 0. So 0 is in fact greater than or equal to 0. So that's why it's just going to return null. How about remove at index 1? Well, let's check this if statement first. Index is positive, so it's okay. How about index is greater than or equal to size? Well, the index is 1 and size is 4 because there are 4 letters. So this is not true. It will go to this line here. So just to sum up, don't remove if the index is smaller than 0. In this case, it's going to be negative. Or if the index is greater than or equal to 4 in this case, because if we try to remove anything from 4 and beyond, that's going to be out of bounds. Now, how about this line here? tsave equals array at index. Basically, what this does is we're going to have a variable called saved. At index 1, we have b, so just put b into the variable saved. Then the next step is this for loop. So in this for loop, we put I at the index. So index is 1, we're going to put I here. Then we're going to look at the data in I plus 1. And we have C. So we take C and we move it to the left and repeat this process. So now we move I up and we look at I plus 1. We have D, so we take D and move it to the left. And this line here is actually really important. I'll explain why in a moment. But then we also need to decrement size. So size minus minus because we just remove an element from the array. And last but not least, we return the variable saved. So this is a way for us to check what did we just remove. Well, let's see. We just removed the letter B from the array. So let me explain why this line here is so important. So I'm talking about the line array at size minus 1 equals null. In order to understand, we have to look at this edge case, when there's only one element inside the array and we want to remove the beginning of this array. The first step is to put C into the variable saved. The second step is the for loop. So if you look very closely in this for loop, you can see that this for loop is not being run at all. So here I equals index and index is 0. So we put I onto index 0. And then I is less than size minus 1. So size is 1 and 1 minus 1 is 0. So this gives us I is less than 0 and then I plus plus. And so as you can see, this for loop is not executed at all. We are on this line here. Array at size minus 1 equals null. So size is 1 and 1 minus 1 is 0. So this means array at index 0 is equal to null. This basically erases the C from the array. So as you can see, that is the use case for this line right here. And since we just removed C, we need to decrement size. So size minus minus, and then return saved. And last but not least, here is our display function if you want to display the current state of your list. Finally, we have the main class, and here is our main method. We're going to create the array list that we just implemented. And we can use this to test the methods that we just built. So here we're going to add some elements at the beginning of the array list. And here we're going to remove some elements at the end of the array list. And that's basically it for today. I hope you found this video helpful and I hope that you enjoyed my video. If you want to see more of my computer science videos, go ahead and click on the data structure playlist here on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe and share with your classmates to help them as well.